inform them of what information is being collected and how they're going to use this information. It also requires parental consent. This obviously has problems like we've talked about in the last class, because usually parental consent is just a checkbox that kids can just check themselves. There's really no way to be positive that the parent said that it's okay. We talked about earlier the Patriot Act. This gave government more power to see what we're doing online. And the last one, which is actually was introduced yesterday in the Senate, this idea would allow consumers to opt out of having their information collected. Which would allow people to decide what information they want companies to collect about them. This bill would force companies to delete no longer used information. If consumers terminate relationships with companies, their information will be deleted. Like when you deactivate your Facebook, your information is saved. This bill would make it so that the information isn't saved. It would still allow for the collection of data for advertising purposes, so it still helps the economy while kind of giving people more privacy. So clearly there are no universal online privacy laws. There are privacy policies for different websites, but it's difficult to create universal ones that have a chance to the internet. We basically have zero privacy online, and this is basically because advertising is the biggest industry in the world, and information is the most valuable thing to them, so they want to know what we're doing online so they can get our money, basically. The government has concerns, for example, terrorism, that gives them reason to reduce our privacy, which is why the Patriot Act was created. So opting out. One solution for the lack of privacy would be to opt out of the internet altogether. However, this is probably impossible. Some people might choose not to have a Facebook, but this doesn't prevent friends from uploading embarrassing pictures that they don't want on the internet. Like we talked about before, it would be almost impossible for a college student to opt out because it would probably hurt their grades. We wouldn't be able to research anything, basically. And we'd be missing out on a lot of information.
Well, now that we know about all the risks we have, there are ways to protect yourself. And one of the first things to do is when you pick your internet provider, you should pick one with a dynamic IP, which means it's constantly changing rather than static, so it doesn't stay forever. So you can't be linked to one thing. It's constantly changing so people can't track you with that one IP. Also, you can secure your network by using such things like encryption, which scrambles communications over the internet. And it's usually already turned off, so you should turn that on yourself. And you can use WPA or WEP, but WPA is stronger. You should also use antivirus software. Turn off identifier broadcasting because it sends out a signal allowing presence for hackers, which you definitely don't want. You can change your identifier on the router from the default because the hackers can know that too, and you can do it to something you know. You can also change the preset password, only allow certain computers to access your wireless, and turn off your wireless when it's not in use because it can be hacked while it's not shut down. When you browse online, choose a private browser with high privacy settings. Remember, your search engines are always recording what you're doing, like Google, for example, which we've talked about. And here are your cookies, which record your data and then send it back to web browsers who send it back to you, and it goes back and forth. You're constantly knowing what you're doing. When it comes to file sharing, you know what you're sharing, use security systems, close your connection afterwards, because if you don't close your connection, you just close the window, you can still be sharing information that you don't realize. And have multiple accounts so you know what exactly is being downloaded to your computer, and back up important documents. When it comes to phishing, spyware, and malware, you should just not use pop-ups or put in information that you don't want because it's probably not trustworthy. Be cautious of opening things because those come with viruses. I know I've gotten a few. We all shop online, especially at school, and you should know what you're buying. Don't give out information. Check your privacy policies. Shop around. Realize that Wi-Fi isn't always secure in hotspots. Use a charge card because even debit is like cash. It's not exactly secure. It could be risky. And check up on your finances. Nadia said, with social networking, just see how much information you're showing, control your posts. Don't use screenings that have your information on it. Be aware that people can lie to you, like in Catfish, and nothing is ever going to be deleted on the internet, which we learned. Overall, you should protect your personal information, know who you're dealing with. Use protective softwares, set up operating system in your browser carefully, protect your passwords, backup files, and know who to call. Either if it's the IFB, the FBI Internet Crime Center, or the FTC. So now that we know about privacy, we know that even our professor isn't safe. With a little digging, we found out a lot of information. For example, he graduated from Natick High School in 1969. He graduated Johns Hopkins with a BA in 73, went to BU Law School with a JD in 1976, got an LLM in taxation in 79, and an LLM International Banking in 92.
And your lovely little wife, Ellen, who went to Boston College, I believe. You have 3 beautiful children. Joanna, who went to Emory, and she graduated in 2010. I believe she works as a medical assistant. And you call her JoJo, maybe? Okay. Daughter Abby, did she go to Michigan, I believe? Yes. Yes. And you have a son named Josh, who's currently living in Japan. And he did very good at Tufts with his 3.76, I believe.
I think that was about it.
That's hilarious. And over the summer, Professor Rusty has been to Kabul, Dubai. He was checked in at Logan, and he's been to the UN.
And he owns property at 728 Salem End Road in Framingham.
See it right there.
And 35 Three Ponds Way in Wayland.
We're out.
Wait, your anniversary is in 4 months on August 15th. Don't forget. That's so weird.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, it says the 30. I read it wrong.
Oh.
Alright, well, that's me in Jumptown, by the way. That really is...
That is a sexy question. Well, I'm gonna ask a couple questions for you guys. You mentioned that a lot of the browsers have private browsing function, and you said that search engines should be excluded. But other than search engines, does this still protect your privacy from? Does it still protect the user's privacy from having their data collected for the sites that they visit?
Well, as I mentioned, from the Nevada and Minnesota laws, internet service providers can give away customer information, but not in Nevada and Minnesota. They have to get permission first. So I don't know if it's like in any other states, but I know that's how it is there.
And not all browsers often. I would say that some do these days, but not all of them. It's probably difficult information to find for the average user.
All right, in the Commercial Privacy Bill 2011, when it was proposed yesterday, can the company still sell the information before the deletion period to non-advertisers?
No, they're supposed to, the only information that they're supposed to give away has to do with advertising, even if the company's not related.
Even before the deletion period?
I think so, but I'm not positive.
Okay. So a lot of the laws you mentioned actually came before the computer age. I was wondering if you guys felt that they still hold up well.
Well, not really, because everything's constantly changing. Clearly, you don't have very privacy.
Well, kind of in like the case that I stated, his Fourth Amendment rights were like breached or whatever, but now with the U.S. Patriot Act, like that gives the government more leeway as to what they can see and everything.